Let me say another thing on the we don't own the space. You don't own the space that you're currently existing in your life. You don't. That space does not belong to you. It was not willed to you.
Facts.
You do not have ownership of it. So, like, at any point, it can change. And that could be good or bad.
It can be.
And so we would hope that it would be good. But whether you're in a negative space, you don't own that space. So you can go into a positive space. If you're in a positive space, you don't own that space.
Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We are here, just me and Kiana today, but you know that because it's Monday. How's everybody doing? How are you doing, Kiana?
What is up with you?
Oh, no, man. I really do feel good today. So anybody listening right now,
Give a praise report, Kyle.
It's definitely tentative, right? But I put a contract on a house today. It's been crazy. The housing market is super crazy, man. We've been really looking at a lot of houses, a whole bunch of houses. But I really do believe that God makes a way for the things that you deserve versus the things that you see that distract you from where God needs you to be, right? So that's definitely the message. That's definitely the message. But how are you?
I feel good. I feel like it's been a long day.
Nah, it has.
Yeah. It's been a long day, but I feel good. I feel like a little bit sleepy, but it's okay.
Nah, facts.
But I don't have anything real to complain about. So I feel like that's a win.
It is a win. It is a win. What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today?
Because I know you got anybody listening right now, could you do us a favor? Could you like the podcast? Could you submit a review? Could you subscribe to the podcast? Anybody that's on YouTube, could you like? Could you subscribe? Could you share the podcast on all of your channels? Could you share it with somebody else that needs it? If there's an episode that really resonated with you, could you share it on social media and tag us in it? All right. So by this time, you should already have our social media handle. So could you tag us in it? And we want to be able to hear from you guys. Okay. We want to be able to hear from you because we don't, the reason why we brought on guests, right? The reason why we brought on guests this season is because we don't want to just produce, right? We want to be able to be vessels. You guys have seen the interaction with our guests. You guys have seen that it's not about us, right? It's so much bigger than just us, right? It really is. We want to be able to provide a platform that is definitely creating a safe space, but also a platform where other people feel empowered by the time that they leave, a platform where you as the audience member, you're able to listen in on different things that all of these people have struggled with, but how they've prevailed, how they've gotten over these hurdles, how they've overcame different things. Like you've heard from Lanier Freeman and her story on how she had to redesign her life. You've heard from the Freemans, right? And how they had to recreate their marriage or how they went through those argument hangovers, or even Stuart Watson, where he's literally won all of these awards, but are still facing some of those different confidence issues that he faced as well. So you've heard from all of these people, and you've even heard from us. So the biggest thing that we want you to gain from these episodes are not just clarity, not just strategies, but hope. Hope that wherever you are in your circumstance, hope that wherever you want to go in your vision, and wherever you currently are in the present is possible. It's possible. It's possible for you to turn your circumstance around literally like today or over the next few weeks or over the next few months. You literally have the power to do anything. God hasn't forgotten about you. He hasn't. He hasn't forgotten about you, like, at all. So, I know you're just smiling over there because you're waiting on us to get rocking and rolling today, but let's get it. What are we discussing?
So today we are talking about drum roll. Ooh,
that wasn't.
That was like a.
That's all good though.
That was like a beeper.
No, literally.
We're talking about getting fit for the summer.
Ooh, I like it.
I feel like I looked at the options. This one resonated most with me. I think that I feel it in my spirit that this would be a good conversation.
Nah, definitely. And I think, it's interesting because everybody listening right now is kind of like, all right, get to it. But, what we did on a few days ago, actually, like a few days ago, probably
2 days ago,
months ago when you're listening to this to this podcast. But we were driving in the car and we were going over all of the different topics that we wanted to be able to share, right? So we were going over like, all right, this is important. This is, this is something that really resonates with the audience. But we also went over the different things that we were currently struggling with or battling, or the seasons that we were currently in, because I think a lot of times we have to, yes, we're ministering to you guys, but sometimes us ministering to you is us really ministering to ourselves, because we're trying to coach ourselves into really what we need to be doing, as in the same time we're coaching you into doing it, right?
Yeah, I think that was one of the topics that came up. It's like, okay, what do we want to talk about? I said, okay, what are we doing well right now? Like, what are we actively mastering? Like, that's something that came up in the Freeman's interview.
Facts.
Like, mastery is not that you get it right all the time. It's that when you get it wrong, you get back on track quicker.
No, that's facts.
So that's kind of where this topic came from.
So just in my perspective, kind of like, because the biggest question is like, how are you getting fit for the summer, right? Everybody's talking about, it's so interesting because like once March hits, that's when people start going back to the gym. It's kind of like you go in December, you stop really January 18th. You go strong for like 2.5, 3 weeks. You stop on January 18th, and it's kind of like you then get to March where it starts to get warm outside. You start to kind of go on vacation. You start to see other people in bathing suits or with their shirts off, and then you look at yourself like, oh my God. And that's the story of my life, people. So for me, right, what getting fit for the summer looks like for me, because I think a lot of times we focus so much on fitness. We focus so much on getting our bodies right, or getting our finances right, getting our relationships right, and all of these different things. But my focus is, how are you getting fit and where God wants you to be? How are you fitting in God's plan this summer? See, it's not about you going to the gym and killing reps, right? How are you actually putting in your reps for God and where He wants you to be, right? It's not about you recreating your relationships. It's about surrounding yourself with where God is calling you to be, right? And I'm going to give one last example. It's not about saving money. It's about getting saved. And this isn't a spiritual podcast, but I believe, we've all went through our transformations. And I'm currently going through this transformation right now, where I'm not focused only on finances. I'm not focused only on my health. I'm not focused only on my business. I'm focused on my vertical alignment and trusting in my faith enough that He will provide in all of the other areas horizontally, right?
So what is the summer?
Yeah, so the summer, great question. So the summer for me, right? The summer is the season that everybody gets ready for, right? So it's kind of like the summer is the season that everybody loves the summer. But a lot of people operate in the spring. They think the spring is their summer. The summer is, what is it? Drum roll, please. It's the harvest. It's the harvest season. So I truly believe that you go through two seasons. Either you're sowing or you're in your harvest season. God takes you through two seasons. Either this is the time for you to do your work. This is the time to serve. This is the time to put in your time. This is the time to be in alignment. This is the time to focus in on character, integrity, and all of the different things that He is calling you to do. And then I believe that there's another season, and that other season is the harvest season, where you are getting abundance. You are receiving blessings. You are creating opportunities. There's not two seasons. That's two seasons. I truly believe that when you receive blessings in a time of disobedience, I believe that's God just showing you favor and mercy.
Okay.
That's my opinion, right? And I truly believe it's similar, because a lot of us, and me personally, a lot of us treat God like a booty call, right? It's kind of one of those things where you call on Him only when you need things, late night, or only when you're struggling, right? Or when you're struggling from certain things, right? And you forget about them during the day. It's not necessarily a commitment. You're only really wanting Him in private and not really publicizing your relationship with Him. I believe that summer is your season, or all of the other seasons are your season to build that relationship. Those are those seasons to really sow into Him. Those are those seasons to tithe. Those are those reasons or seasons to serve in your communities. I truly believe the summer is the harvest if you treat the other seasons accordingly.
Okay. So I know that we both share in this belief that, you don't enter one season until the other season is done. Okay, one, this is a yes or no question. Mm-hmm. Are you in summer yet?
No.
What is preventing you from entering into summer at this point?
That's a great question. So, and we talked about this on one of our episodes, right? And I'm just going to lay it out. So I think this is I've recognized that summer is upon me because this is the first time I feel like I've heard God's voice, like literally, like heard it, like literally hear it, like I hear you right now. And this is also the first time where I can see myself visually fighting against the voice that I hear from God.
So are you still actively fighting it?
I feel like we're always going through a fight. Mm-hmm. But to answer your question directly, yes.
Okay.
Actively as in this moment, no, because I've put systems in place previously this past weekend where conversations were had, different things were established, different things were ended, and expectations were communicated, set. And one thing it says in the Bible is that no weapon formed against me shall prosper, right? But it doesn't say that a weapon is not going to form against you.
Exactly.
But what I've recognized is that a lot of times, and like I was talking about earlier, a lot of times the weapons that are being formed against us, we're providing them the actual weapon.
Yeah.
And it's being formed against us.
Yeah.
In our battle that we're having with where God wants us to be and where our flesh wants to take us. So when I recognize that I gave that person or those people the weapon to use against me and where God is pointing me to go, I had to recognize that, communicate that, and then also relinquish their control in the name of Jesus to be able to receive that weapon back and give it to God. So I think for me, personally, my summer looks like I'll be moving into a new home, right? My summer looks like financially I won't have to work as hard because the foundation has been set. Over the summer, what that looks like is that my relationships are going to be flourishing. What that looks like is certain relationships will be taken public. What that looks like is I feel like peace of mind, a sense of content within my spirit, and a true proudness of all of the decisions that I made to get to this point. This is the first time where I really feel like something that I did 6 months ago is actually getting ready to happen now. Like things that I started to do in the past that was like this is going to hurt me or this is uncomfortable. I really do believe I'm going to be able to being able to see the harvest in the summer. So that's just my perspective.
That does create a proud feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like when you see that your work is producing good results.
Nah, facts. Because 4 years ago when I moved to Charlotte, and I tell this story all the time, I was living with my boy Doug in his extra bedroom on an air mattress with a 1-year-old son with no money, like at all. Like the only food that I would eat is because he happened to be a chef at the time, so he would cook all the time. I ain't have no bread. 4 years later, I'm able to put up $6,000 to put down on a crib without my parents' help. I'm able to go to somebody and get a pre-approval letter and be able to be pre-approved for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm able to walk through a house and then pick out the fixers and the furnishes and all of these different things that I want without having to think about like, hey, I can't afford this. I'm able to go on vacation and travel on my dime and not have to worry about, hey, is this going to be paid or this going to be paid? I'm able to have conversations with people where I'm cutting you off and I don't feel uncomfortable because I know that that's what God needs me to do. So it's not just, I think a lot of times we we celebrate the blessings. We celebrate the materials. Like I talked about the house.
Yeah.
I talked about the car, all of these different things,
That was
right?
gonna be next.
Right? But it's not about celebrating the blessings. It's also about celebrating the new behaviors. It's about celebrating the new habits. It's about celebrating when somebody texts me now and is trying to come over late night or trying to disrespect herself. I won't allow that. See, the old me would have been able to allow it or welcome that or put energy out in the atmosphere that that shit is okay. But it's not, right? And I feel like I've grown so much over these last few months and these last few years, definitely exponentially, where I'm willing to have those crucial conversations. I actually want those crucial conversations. I'm willing to confront people when they are actually wrong. I'm willing to communicate my emotions more effectively. I'm willing to have those tough conversations with my parents about things that actually affect me. I'm willing to set boundaries and expectations and standards for people. I'm willing to remove people, but I'm also willing to have grace to allow people in my life and not allow a bad business deal or a bad relationship to affect my perception on somebody actually trying to do something for me. I'm able to receive that now. So I feel like the man that I was 4 years ago, when I moved here, focusing on proposing to a woman, it's interesting because the same woman that got me out of that situation, not necessarily out of that situation, but helped coach me to being able to see myself, is the same woman that's going to be walking into the next house with me.
Well then, on that note, so okay, I have another question, and then I'll let you ask me some questions.
Nah, facts. Let's do it.
I do the interview thing. What is something in this season? Ooh, okay, I have two of them. So one, what is something in this season that maybe is preventing you from going into the next season, but you haven't quite figured out what to do in the situation? Or is there anything like that? Or do you feel like you know everything that needs to happen? That's
a good question. Yo, I really feel like professionally, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm kind of I'm just moving with it right now, right? I think a lot of times, right, we get into this like, oh, I'm not operating in purpose, but you still got to pay your bills. So I recognize that something is working from a professional standpoint that keeps me very well taken care of. But from a purpose standpoint, I think I'm right there, but I don't think that I'm right there. And I think, interestingly, the podcast in podcasting all the time, I feel like, has given me a sense of purpose because I like using this platform as an opportunity to do all of these things. We can educate people, we can coach people, we can love on people, we can encourage, we can learn from people, but we also get to share messages with people, and it doesn't have a face, right? And what I mean by that is like, yeah, we have cameras, but our focus is on each other. It's not on the camera. So it's like, yeah, they may see us and, vibe out with us, whatever the case may be, or laugh with us, whatever. But I'm not doing this for the cameras. I'm actually doing this because this is real life shit that we actually talking about.
No, that's
so
true.
I feel like this is the first time where I'm not doing it for the lights. I'm not doing it for the likes. I'm just doing it because it feels good.
Well, let me say something. I'm going to apologize to y'all right now for however my face looks on any of these episodes because I don't acknowledge the fact that cameras are here most of the time. And that's what I told Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know that I'm like, because I can hear that my voice sounds different. So I'm mostly cognizant of the fact that it's being recorded, like the audio.
Yeah.
But like the cameras, I have to catch myself and be like, fix your face, friend.
Nah, facts.
I apologize for that. But it's real. It really is real. Like the conversations that we have with everyone and with each other, I think it's necessary too, man.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we have a lot of surface level conversations, and we don't really take time getting to know other people. That's one thing that I've realized, even in my own life, right? It's interesting because, so I've had people live with me for for months at a time, and then, you don't really realize who that person is until you go through a controversy or until you want to shift the dynamic of your relationship, or you go through a challenge and you don't really know like how that person handles it, or now you see how that person really feels about you or the intention that they had for you in the first place. So I think for me, this is Yeah, this is definitely
You said a mouthful right there.
Nah,
Kyle.
facts. This is purposeful, but I also think it's therapeutic for me because I'm able to come on here and I'm able to talk through my issues or ask questions to our guests, right? On issues that I'm actually going through, and then just let them give me some game and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Like I feel like it's dope. Even if people are just listening to the audio and not seeing the video, that we could literally be changing somebody's life. And they could be showing up every single podcast to listen to us, and we never know it.
Yeah.
And that's who we doing this for. So the person that's listening to this, man, we love you. Like, you know, the person that's listening to this that maybe doesn't follow us on social media, maybe has never spent $1 from us, maybe has never met us in person, like that person that's still showing up, that person that maybe never shares anything at all, but you show up every single time because you're getting something every single time.
Yeah.
I love you for that. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times we only do it for the shares. We only do it for the likes. We only do it for the clout. But like we're really showing up, and this is an expense. This is like literally
time and money,
thousands,
literally
monthly.
But it's like, and at this point, guys, at the point that you're listening to this, we have no sponsors. We have nothing. So everything all the guests that are coming, like it's literally reaching out to them to get them on. And so we do not own this space that we're in. And it's okay to talk about because at some point it'll be different.
Yo, let me tell you this.
It'll be different. So
in order to own the space that you're in, you have to own first the space that you're in. Right? And what I mean by that, so check.
You want to be asked, what do you mean by that, Kyle?
I got you. So I feel like she just prefaced like we do not own this space. We don't own the space that we're podcasting in. We don't own the space. But one thing that we will own is the digital space that will create the revenue in order for us to actually own the physical space. See, I think a lot of times, or even the space internally, spiritually, emotionally, the space that prepares us and allows us to be prepared once we, put this cameras or put this mic on. You have to first own the space in your mind so that you could be present for when you're in the space, when you're actually sharing that space with other people.
And let me say another thing on the we don't own the space. You don't own the space that you're currently existing in your life. You don't. That space does not belong to you. It was not willed to you.
Facts.
You do not have ownership of it. So like at any point it can change. And that could be good or bad.
It can be.
And so we would hope that it would be good. But whether you're in a negative space, you don't own that space. So you can go into a positive space. If you're in a positive space, you don't own that space. So things can change depending on how you move, the lessons that you need to learn that you're not getting, the moves that you're not making. You don't own the space that you're in.
So let me ask you this. So what is currently in your space that you no longer have capacity for?
I would think that I'm about to switch everything up. As much as your summer is about to look different, so is mine.
Facts.
Like I've already made little change. Nobody notices. By the time this airs, the change will have already been made. I'm sure. I've already started archiving different things on Instagram. Like I've already started to think what does the next phase look like? I had this conversation with you, I think yesterday, and I was like, I'm about to let go of the need to create a nice brand or everything looks on brand.
Aesthetic
and I need these captions that sound like this or that look this way or that whatever. I believe that in walking in who I am, it's going to resonate with people. I think my preoccupation with creating a brand and everybody's like, brand this, brand that, brand this, post this many times a day and do this and that and the third has prevented me from, I need to go back to the basics.
Nah, facts. It's interesting that you say that because I think a lot of times we get away from the fundamentals, right? So it's like you played softball, I played basketball growing up. And it's kind of like when you're learning how to play a new game, you literally go through the fundamentals. I remember playing ball, we used to like when we're learning just to kind of control the ball, we used to do ball drills and dribbling drills and all these different drills. So when you think about anybody listening right now, right? You're going to have to learn this new level or this new season that you're walking into, right? You can't walk into that season as a champion because you've never been in that season. So you're going to have to learn first the drills in regards to the fundamentals that are necessary for you to set a foundation for you then to get on the court or on the field to then be an expert, a credible expert, an authority specifically in your lane, right? And it's interesting that you say that, because the different part with me and why I think I've been able to kind of transition with success is because I've stayed in the same lane. I've just done something different.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Nestle. It's like they have the same mission. They're just selling a whole bunch of different products. With me, I've stayed in the entrepreneurship game. I've kind of stayed in the education, coaching, courses game. I've just offered a different offer. But with you, I think there's been a lot of transition, right? Or there's been been a major facelift. But then once you had the facelift, you then had a realization that had to kill that facelift, but then create a new look.
Yeah. And my new look is probably going to look similar to my old look. Interestingly, I think that I was rejecting what was working for me. And the idea was, okay, I'm getting older and I'm getting this and that, and I need to, I want to be more respected or whatever, like all these things that I wanted. And in doing that, I isolated my audience. And I think I became unrecognizable to the people that were supporting me. And so there is a middle ground between, okay, I want to still relate to people, because I was relating to people before. It just was in a different way. And so I think I was thinking what I was doing wasn't good enough. And it was like, I need to be doing more, but I need to be doing more. And then I think what I've seen is that I was probably wrong. That it wasn't that I needed to do more. I was dissatisfied with what I was doing, but nobody else was.
I don't think you were wrong. I think you were making all of the right moves, just moving in the wrong direction, right? I think everything that you created, everything that you're creating, I think was interestingly, right? Kind of I'm going to bring it back. I feel like the season that you were just in was necessary for what I've built, right? Because I feel like everything that you've created, from a mental health, from a self-awareness, all of that went into the program. That completely exponentially increased the value of what the program was, right? And at that point, it systemized the program, so then we could have time to spend in the podcast. So now I'm good, because the whole programs, all the author programs, are completely finished. They're done. There's nothing else that needs to happen because of that perspective that you gained, because of the value that you gave. Then we were able to really dial in on the podcast so that we can then leverage this platform as a vessel, so that through this platform, you could then recreate yourself.
I think it's so important for people to pay attention to what you're saying, because I acknowledge that, and I think it's important for people to acknowledge, sometimes the storm that you're in is not, once you get to the end of it, it doesn't always benefit you. And there's this selfish belief that a lot of people have that, like, if I'm walking in purpose, if I'm doing this, that, and the third, it's going to benefit me. Sometimes your role or the way you're existing right now is to benefit somebody else. And I acknowledge that about myself, that for a lot of my life, that has been my role. And so, like, when we have conversations and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen my harvest at this point. I don't think I've ever seen, like, the real bloom that's supposed to take place in my life. I think that it could very well be the case. I acknowledge at this point that I may have never been supposed to be a life coach as it exists, like how I've been trying to do it. That maybe my goal, because I always point back to the book, and I'm like, I know that I was supposed to write the book. I know that was the last thing that God told me. I acknowledge now that maybe I was supposed to write the book because then it was supposed to make me become a life coach, because I knew I needed some sort of validation and, some way for people to see me as an authority.
Facts. So
I became that. But then what if it was all just so that we could have these topics? When we started talking about these topics, it shifted our entire relationship.
Just everything. And our relationships, right?
Yeah. And
I feel like it shifted everything. The program,
everything.
My relationship with myself, my relationship with friendships, my relationship with everybody. So it's kind of like...
It might not have been for me and what I thought it was. And so I'm okay with that. That maybe it was never about the book. God showed me these topics so that I would write a book, because he knew if he showed me that, I've always wanted to be an author, so I would write the book, and in writing the book, I would become a life coach. And becoming a life coach, we would start having these conversations, and it would benefit you in what you were doing, and then also it would create this podcast. This podcast wouldn't exist if I never became a life coach.
Nah, that's facts. Yo, it's so deep, right? It's so deep.
It's not always about you.
It's really not. And we're going to come back on the next. Hold on. We're about to go on commercial, y'all.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So we are having a wonderful conversation.
Nah, definitely.
I feel like ours always pick up, like, at some point the conversation shifts and then it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Nah, literally. I think what you said was so dope, because I feel like it's kind of like you got these messages from God to talk about these topics that then led you to be an author, that then led you to be a life coach, that then led you to help me establish different relationships around, you know, us both, you know, continuing to help other people through programs, online programs, the workshops, all these different things. And then the podcast. But the thing is, this is what I want to tell anybody that's listening right now, right? What if she wouldn't have listened to God? What if she would have never wrote the book? All of the other things would not have happened. And it would have been a completely different trajectory.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when we're going down a highway, and I see it, right? I see it. It's kind of like when we're going down a highway and our navigation is saying there's traffic ahead, but we're not listening to it because we feel like there's not, because we can't see it. So then your navigation is saying, get off on this exit, get off on this exit, get off on this exit. And you're not. You miss it because you don't see the traffic. 20 seconds later, you come across the hill, you come up the hill, come down, it's like, boom, bumper to bumper to traffic. And you had to, but this is the thing, you had to be off the exit, like the last exit, you would have been there on time. You would have gotten there on time. So what if you would have just got off the last exit? But now you're in bumper to bumper traffic, and now you're going to be an hour or two late, so now you got to reschedule it. But what if the reschedule never happens? And I use that example because I think a lot of times we're not listening to the reroutes. We're not listening to, hey, I see something up there that you don't have to worry about, but I need you to just trust this direction because, yes, you know how to get there. You always go there, but this one time I need you to trust me. And that trust me is God.
Right.
And it's so interesting because I think a lot of times in my life, I haven't rerouted. And I've literally been stuck in traffic. Like for hours. And it's not like you can turn around in the middle of traffic or go in the grass or anything, because now that's illegal and now there's going to be a bigger problem.
Yeah. And you're going to get where you intended to go, but it's going to take you so much longer.
So much.
You could have listened and saved yourself time. And in this analogy, it's like, yeah, maybe it'll take me an hour or more. But in life, a lot of times it's maybe it'll take me another year. Like how many of us can think back to, if I had listened to God, I would have been in this place 2 years ago.
And even if you're not a godly person, if you would have listened to your parents, if you would have listened to your business coach, if you would have listened to that mentor, if you would have listened to that professor, all of those different things.
And you could say, I don't believe in God, but we've all felt
something
when something wasn't right and we did it anyway.
Damn.
Or you'd be like, I shouldn't have went to that party, and then something happens. Or I knew I should have stayed home, and then you get into a car accident on your way. Or I knew I should have, like, it's always, I just knew it. Something told me. You could call it whatever you want to call it.
It's so wild because, like, the first thing that I think about with that story, right, is, you know, my parents never wanted me to go to a co-op and miss a semester. So I missed a semester of college and school because I went to go work for BMW as a co-op, right? And my father was like, yo, at this time, right, check this. At this time, I had already interned with NASA. I went to study abroad in Ghana. I went with USDA. I was already with USDA. I did some time with Tennessee Valley Authority, and I did a stint in New York. 5 opportunities. Check. So my father, his perspective was like, Kyle, and my perspective was like, yo, Pop, like, I need another opportunity. I want a job after college. Like, I need that. His perspective is like, Kyle, you've done enough.
Yeah.
Like, you've studied abroad in Ghana. You were an All-American athlete. You have 3 other internships. And you've served the community, and you started a business, and you wrote a book. You're good.
You're good.
Relax.
But
6 months later, I got somebody pregnant.
Why? Because
crazy. Because I went there, right? And it was two options. It was the real reason I wanted to go, because a lot of times we have reasons that we're not communicating. So the real reason I wanted to go, because I was in a relationship at the time, and I wanted to be closer to her. And the relationship wasn't where it needed to be. And my parents were communicating, hey, like, you just needed to, like, just take some time out of this relationship. Focus on school, focus on your career, focus on the things that you need to focus on. So me going back created, one, more anxiety, more stress. And with all of me not listening, it created another child in the process. Actually, not one child, two children.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, it was a crazy situation. Like, I don't even have the word. Usually I got the words, but like, I think about it, and it's funny because that's the first thing that I thought about just then. Like, if I would have listened to that one message from my father,
everything would have been different.
Everything would have been different.
Yeah.
That's kind of like everybody listening right now. If you could have changed one experience where somebody told you not to do it, but you did it, and it didn't end up in your favor, what would you have changed? And what could your life have been if you wouldn't have done it?
The only thing that gets me in the rabbit hole.
Everything else would have changed.
Exactly.
Facts.
If that didn't happen, I don't know that we would have been sitting here right now.
Nah, facts.
Maybe. I do think, I don't know, I feel conflicted because I do believe that if something is meant to happen, it's going to happen in a different way. But I don't know.
Nah, me and your uncle, we would have went in owning at a restaurant.
Right,
Nah,
that could have been, and then I met you like
and you
there.
been working for me.
Still met you at the restaurant. I didn't meet you at the restaurant, but still met you through the restaurant,
That'd
but
been
just
crazy. in a different way.
Yeah, a whole different life.
He's an investor.
Yeah.
You could have got the 10K. Nah, facts.
Right.
It would have been crazy. So I feel like it's just so interesting as we just sit here and reflect on it. There's so many things I feel like in both of our lives that we would have changed. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like for me, I love them all. Like, I'm glad it happened in the way that it happened because it taught me something.
Yeah.
I'm glad I had Carter when I had him. It taught me something. I'm glad I, lost my first son at birth. It taught me something. I'm glad I went through the things that I went through in college. It taught me something because I feel like all of these different lessons I can now pour into these kids that I speak to. I can now pour into my son. I can now share these different things on the podcast where it's like, damn, like, I'm going through that right now. Like, maybe I should listen, and where somebody else is going to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I
think all of our failures, or what we looked at as failures, set up a way to be able to really provide a path for our futures.
Yeah.
I want you to do this. What are 3 negative things that you've done? Or 3 negative experiences that you've had, but 3 beautiful things that came from it?
3?
Right? So it's kind of like, yeah, that situation happened, but, we connected from that situation happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, this happened, but then like 2 years later, that happened. Or this happened, or this happened. So I think a lot of times if we look at the positive and what was the outcome of the outcome of the outcome, I truly believe that positive. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, I think that's true because that is an exercise that I think is in my book, but it's also in PM30. I think I put it in there too.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is one thing that you wish you could remove? Or one of our guests answered this question. I don't know. I'm not gonna say what it is. Never mind. But yeah, if you remove that thing though, what other things wouldn't have happened? And I think you have to really think about that when you say, like, I wish I never did that. I wish I never met you. There are some people I do believe if I never met them, my life wouldn't have really changed that much.
I do feel like if there was one person that I didn't meet, I feel like my life would be completely different.
Yeah.
Like 110%.
Yeah, the person that you think, like, sometimes I wish I never met this person.
But the scary part about that, because I met that person, there may have been a lot of negative experiences, but those negative experiences shaped me to be the better man.
And that's the thing, too. I do believe.
Like, I needed that person.
I do believe, though, there are some people who, if I never met them, my life would not be any different. I do believe that.
Nah, facts.
But I think most times the person that we wish, like, I never met you, or I wish
probably had a bigger impact on us than we thought.
Probably.
Facts.
And it's not always negative. Sometimes it is always negative, but it reveals things about you.
You never know. But, yo, anybody listening, right? The overall... and we like to just hop on here so y'all can hear our voices. So that you can see our faces, so you can see us rocking out every Monday, because Thursday we got some heat coming up. We got some serious heat coming up. Hopefully you guys are loving the podcast, because that's what it's about. It's about you guys loving it, you guys sharing it, you guys getting something from it, you guys gaining wisdom, you guys gaining some insight, strategies, whatever the case may be. But comment some questions, comment some things, comment maybe some people that you want us to reach out to and get on the podcast, and people that you want to listen to. Yo, 3 wish list people. Simon Sinek, Gary Keller, and Deepak Chopra. 3 powerhouses.
You obviously had already been thinking about that.
I really had. Because
who do you think is like on the top of my top 3?
Sarah Jakes.
Yeah,
definitely her.
It is her.
Definitely Gary Keller.
Oh yeah.
Love
him.
And then Ben Hardy.
You think that's on my top 3?
I mean, he's just 8. You know, he up there somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this, it's for you guys. It's really for you guys, because the focus every single week is really being able to produce the best content through bringing on the best people and challenging us to ask the best questions so that we can take this thing to the next level, right? True. Because by us taking our podcast to the next level, what do? We take you to the next level. We take you to the next level, and that's what it's about. But, recap, quick recap. We want you to get ready for the summer. We want you to get fit for the summer. Stop trying to fit in to be a better stop trying to fit in this summer, and we want you to get fit for the summer. Get fit. So what does your faith look like? What does your faith look like? Where are you getting your inspiration from? What are you getting your inspiration from? And how are you creating transactions in your life and not expenses? That's the FIT acronym that I just came up with, like, on the spot, right? So what does your faith look like? Are you having faith in a higher power? Or are you trusting in your mentors? Are you trusting in yourself to being able to see it through? Where are you gaining your inspiration from? Who's coaching you? Who's mentoring you? I need you to fill yourself up with transactions and not expenses. I need you to fill yourself up with transactions of relationships that actually add to you and not take from you. I need you to have different things that you're listening to that's adding to you. Remove the secular music and put on podcasts. Take away the movies that aren't helping you and actually watch things that can advance you. Stop having conversations that drain you and have conversations that empower you. How are you getting fit for the summer? How are you getting your body fit for the summer? How are you getting your mind fit for the summer? Your spirit fit from the summer? Your finances fit for the summer? Because the summer is upon us. The summer is upon us. Just like they said in Game of Thrones, winter is coming. It is. But will you be ready when the war comes? Will you be ready when the attacks come? Will you be ready when the weapons are formed against you? Because you know you're going to prosper, but you also know that the weapons will form against you. Will you be ready? Will you be ready to take on that opportunity that you've been asking for? Will you be ready to take on that relationship that you've been asking for? Will you be ready to commit to that business that you've been investing in? Will you be ready to remove the traumas, remove the triggers from your life so that you can start to create a testimony? Remember, your story matters. Your story matters. You matter. You are loved. You are appreciated. We love you. We appreciate you. You are strong. Money flows to you easily and with abundance. When we start thinking about an abundance mindset, we start activating our inner calling. Straight up. Look, I really feel like people are in here with this, but there's not. Like there's not. What did you write down? What you thinking?
Oh, I wrote down your little acronym here. The faith, inspiration,
transactions. That's it.
I feel like I like this conversation. I like all of our conversations, but I like this because we plan a topic, but we have no idea where it's going to end up. Idea. And so it's just very organic. If y'all
literally
ever watch it, you see I start with a blank sheet of paper. Kyle starts with a blank sheet of paper, I think.
I had a whole lot going on.
I don't know what you got going on. But
this was notes from the last one.
Yeah, so I always have like a blank sheet of paper, and like, so anything that comes up is like, it's real.
That's it. Look, this is the Around the Way podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. We want you to like, subscribe, comment under our page. Share it. I want you to subscribe on the audio. Leave us a review. If you're on the video, I need you to like. I need you to subscribe. I need you to share. All right? And then I need you to comment. Put something under it. All right, put something positive. If you're a troll, you could just stay off of it, or you could stay on it because you're going to help the engagement in the future. But what we want to focus on, right, is how are you getting fit for the summer? How are you focusing in on your faith? Where are you getting your inspiration from? And what transactions are you adding to your life? And what expenses are you removing from your life? All right, so I need you to audit your environment. I need you to audit your mindset. And I need you to audit yourself. This is Around the Way podcast, and we'll see you guys next episode.
Bye, guys.